everyone, welcome back to Streets of Cadwallon. I am Patrick, and today with me I am playing Krill. We are both playing Cynwall with Galhyan as our incarnate. He is playing Elder Legacy with 2 Pulsars, 1 Quasar, and 4 Akhamiäl, 2 of which have Scout. I am playing the Blade of Truth faction, again Galhyan, 2 of the Khidarÿm, the Elite Cynwall units, 5 Warriors of Truth, 2 Azure Hunters, and 3 mainless Sparklings. We are playing the Legacy rule set. Notable spells, he has Draconic Pact to summon the dragon. I have Sparkling Summoning, and then we both just have a bunch of layering buffs on top. So I won Tactical, we've already deployed at this point, and I am moving these Sparklings to just get out of range of those scouting Akhamiäls on the side there. Just don't want them to take free shots, essentially. The scenario we're playing is one that the Confed community has put out on TTS. There are 3 VPs. So as you note, right next to the Sparkling that I just moved, there are neutral or NPC models, I guess I'll call them, of archaeologists. Me and my opponent both have one. We're trying to get them into the opponent's stone circle by the end of the game. The way you prevent that is if you knock them unconscious or you knock them out, they can't be killed, but they will stay unconscious as long as an enemy model is next to them. So if there's no enemy model, they can use their activation to stand up and then shake off the unconscious, essentially fully healing them. And then next activation, they can continue moving. So you get 1 VP for getting your archaeologist into their stone circle, and then you get another VP for preventing your opponent's archaeologist into the stone circle. And then the 3rd VP is there's a treasure chest here up on the top of the stairs here on the left hand side of the board. It is structure point 6, resilience 8. After you break the chest, whoever breaks the chest gets a bonus 100 army points, for tiebreakers in terms of how many army points you destroyed of your opponent. But then there's a treasure chest inside it, which you will get for ending a movement in base to base with it. And then you pick it up, and whoever controls that at the end of the game gets the 3rd VP. So my game plan here is I have Azure Hunters and some guns on the Khidarÿm, as well as Sparkling Summoning. So I am going to make him come to me and just kind of pump out Sparklings. I'm really trying to play more of a control game here, while kind of avoiding Draconic Pact and Pulsars that have 20 movement. 20 centimeter movement. He also has Force March on here, so he can get really long threat ranges. So yeah, just kind of setting up here. All the Sparklings took off turn 1 to be able to tie up models the following turn with Dive Bombs. They're really good at splitting frays. You throw a Sparkling, which are immune to fear. They can, and then you Elemental Chain something, and they're just really great at controlling the board. Here, Krill just kind of messed up which Pulsar was which, and so just for this turn I told him that it's fine. He can, even though he had the wrong card in the wrong sequence order, he can just move it that way and then just keep track of it for the next rounds. Yeah, and as always, fun playing on the TTS. I love these detailed maps that other people are putting together. The Confed community, playing on them with TTS, on the other hand, is sometimes interesting. Getting them to balance on steps where heavy models just kind of roll down them. So you'll see here that I'll pull out bases just to kind of mark where they are, as the bases seem to have a better time staying on where I wanted them to. So a little bit of fighting that, but otherwise, I love these thematic boards that really helps capture the aesthetic that, we all love when it comes to playing confrontation. The other thing we talked about is just some line of sight. So if you were to get down at level, there is stairs going up. You can kind of see it from that angle. So we just talked about how, what kind of line of sight rules we're using, having conversations just to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're playing a fair game, right? So everything I would do, the reason why I took back that movement is I asked him, could I see from over there? He said, no, I don't think you can. So he let me take back my movement and then move to a higher, he said if I could move about halfway up, then you should be able to have line of sight to move. So here I am taking a shot at the pulsar, got lucky, rolled 4-5, I'll do a light. And then I believe the other Azure Hunter is just going to stand in bullseye. Only rolled enough to hit, so nothing added to the damage roll, and then yep, just rolled double threes, which is not enough to do a light. I think it probably a stun, but we didn't think that that pulsar was going to get engaged, so we didn't bother marking it. So I think at this point, Gal has a spell called Chains of Automation, which he can, before the beginning of a round, he can cast it pretty much on anything, any construct within 15 centimeters of him. Doesn't really care about line of sight or anything. And then that allows you to later in the round, at any point really, you can spend gems to give your constructs buffs, and it costs 0 to do this. So you really should be doing this at the beginning of, before every tactical roll. For Galhyan, Krill forgot this first round, so he was just doing it there. So Krill put a card in reserve, which I believe was Galhyan the Pulsar, and then he, I think, realized, and we kind of chatted about this after the game, he felt like he needed to come over and stop Gal from just pumping out a bunch of sparklings and just getting way up on the number of bodies. So he kind of goes all in here and mixes things up and kind of charges Gal here. So double activation allows them both to activate simultaneously. Gal, I believe, is buffing. Oh, he gave the pulsar Fierce from Chains of Automation. Then he cast Forced March, which is going to move him up here. And I think that's the only. Oh, and then he did Seal of Protection. So the first damage roll against the pulsar is going to be at, he'll have plus 10 res. So he kind of buffed them up here, and then he's going to send them out, tie up Gal, which is immediately going to put the pressure on. And as you'll see here, he'll prevent Gal from being able to cast Sparklings, because now he has to immediately deal with this pulsar. Yeah, so 50 centimeters no man land between us. So 20 centimeters of the pulsar, he gets forced marched up. That's 20, and then he can charge another 40. So 60 centimeters, plenty of room to get in there and get on Gal. So yeah, luckily I won tactical, so I have a bunch of cards remaining. Khidarÿm come in here. One is on the other side. I thought I had enough on the left side just to kind of collapse on this pulsar. I have a bunch of Warriors of Truth and a Khidarÿm over there. Gal's on him, so I feel confident enough. I'm not sure about this play. I was kind of talking about Krill about it a little bit later. He does have Fierce on it, but you're spreading damage across a lot of models. So, if I believe I end up getting 5 models on him. And he'll get 5 dice for my models plus 1 extra, and he can sequence, so he'll get a total of 7. So you can get 2 extra attacks on 2 other models. So I don't know. He definitely, you'll see the result here. I won't spoil it, but it's questionable, I think. I don't think you're getting a good return on on the models you're able to kill. But he felt like he had to do something, otherwise he'll just get overran by sparklings. And that's kind of the problem with a lot of low model count elite lists, is that if you go into something that can just get way more numbers than you, it's just an uphill battle, because with the quality of dice that elite models bring, you can still have bad rolls, and those bad rolls are just exacerbated. I feel so, like, hitting legs on something that's like plus 10 strength just feels awful, because instead of if you hit arms or anything else, you're probably critting them or killing them and can follow up and kill them. But if you hit legs, you might only be doing a serious, and then you're definitely not killing, probably. That's always been my problem, or my issue with small model count elite lists, is just when RNG is added, they you can just get a bad run of luck, and then you're out of it. Whereas model army lists with more models, I feel like, and quality or quantity of dice, the averages just kind of shake out, and throughout the course of a game, I think that it's not as bad. So yeah, here I dogpile 5 models on the Pulsar. Yeah. I think the last activation here is Gal. I'm debating what I should cast. I think I attempt to do solar power on, yeah, I do solar power on this Warrior of Truth, because I don't think I can see the Khidarÿm across from him. He's blocking line of sight. So solar power is the dice are reversed. And then for the other two, I don't believe, I think maybe I try to cast a Sparkling or something like that, and I don't get it. So just solar power for buffs there. So we only have one fray here, the Pulsar versus the five models. I am initiative 4, I think 8, and he is initiative 2, I believe. So I don't think we see his role, but I want initiative here. He's going all out attack, just expecting to lose this, but he has fierce, so even if I kill him, he'll still get to make all his combat dice attack. So I think I go all in attack with the Warriors of Truth, and then I do sequence for the Khidarÿm, and then I go 1 defensive for Gal and the Khidarÿm together. Oh, at this point, he realized that he forgot to devotion the Akhamiäl, and so I let him take that back. And this was to put Fierce on him. So he realized that he kind of messed up the order of activation, because again, you can give Fierce at any time and spend the gems. So he was doing it at the beginning of combat, but he did forget to roll the devotion to get the extra gems from this Akhamiäl. Again, he just went to go remove the Akhamiäl, and I was like, if you roll legs, you can't kill him. So sure enough, he rolls legs, and the Akhamiäl only takes a serious for drawing 2 gems. So I put all of the, Warriors of Truth, to me, they're expendable, they're great units, and they hit really hard. I don't care if he's gonna put some damage into those guys. I know the high value targets are the Khidarÿm and Gal, so I put 1 in defense in them, thinking that he'll get 2 extra attacks on some of my models. Those will probably be the ones who want to put him in. I go with Gal first, because he has nothing in defense, and that first damage roll, he has that res 10 from Protection of Light. So it removes that spell, so he's now back down to res 10. And then I go with the Solar Power Warrior of Truth and miss, which is unfortunate because I was hoping to do a big damage roll. Khidarÿm comes in here next. He is pumping the strength for concentration, and so he's at strength 12 right 11 right now, sorry, because he gets +3 in concentration. Yeah, I don't think I do enough to do a damage to him, which is unfortunate. And then this Warrior of Truth comes. I believe this is where I start kind of layering on wounds. So I believe he's at a serious at this point. So he's at the attack, because he did sequence, so he's down to a 4. He has 2 wounds on him, I believe, at this point, plus a charge counter. He's like at attack 1, and my guy is defense 3. So I decide I'm going to counter it, or not counter, but sustain defense. And I think I just needed anything but 1 to get it, and sure enough, I roll a 1, so that feels bad. Khidarÿm have a special ability that they can use sustained defense even when they have more attack dice than defense dice. So I thought I was being really nifty and smooth here using that cool ability. And then it just kind of blew up in my face, and he ends up taking a serious wound, which doesn't feel great. So yeah, this is where Krill is, starts popping off, and he's gonna start doing a bunch of damage. So yeah, he just flat out kills a Warrior of Truth here. This is not looking great. Next attack roll on a Warrior of Truth. Yep, does another, I think, like crit there, or kills it potentially. Gal, he did roll a 1 on to hit him. So Gal gets to keep his defense dice. Yep, and then another crit. So he killed 1, some hot damage rolls. Serious the Khidarÿm, killed a Warrior of Truth, and then put 2 crits on the other Warriors of Truth. And then it came back around. So I hit, I think I just... Okay, so he was at a crit at that point, and then I just did enough. So I kill him. I have 2 extra dice from the Warriors of Truth, but don't even bother rolling them because he's already dead. He decides, he has 2 attacks left. He decides to put 1 on Gal, and Gal defends it. And then he realized he probably should have just finished off these 2 Warriors of Truth since they were on a crit. So a little bit mistake there on him, but he does finish off 1 of them at the very least. And then the end of the round, that Pulsar is removed. So that's end of turn 1. We just do some recovery rolls here. Galhyan, his Galhyan is an Elder's Legacy. He gets recovery 3. So he'll be getting a bunch of gems back. I think like 9 or something like that he gets. I roll and I get 6 back. I don't believe there is anything else at the end of... Oh, and then he has the artifact that any construct within, I want to say 10 centimeters of him, or maybe it's 15, get regen. So he rolls regen for the Pulsar back there that I shot with the Hunter and the Akhamiäl, and he does roll to regen on the Pulsar. So that Pulsar is back to full health. So at this point in the game, I think that, we talked about that Pulsar coming in, how I don't think it was favorable to really do that. But with those damage rolls, I think it definitely, so he killed 42 points essentially of Warriors of Truth, pretty much killed a third one, and then put a serious on a Khidarÿm. And he also prevented me from putting out probably 2 to 3 Sparklings, right? So just even preventing, he killed the 42 of the Warriors of Truth, and then prevented at least 2 Sparklings, so that's another 24 points. So, that Pulsar essentially killed 64 points and then some for however much you count those extra wounds on, or 66 rather points. So, it definitely did work there, but I think as you saw, he got a little bit lucky. But sometimes you're just in a state and a matchup where you need to make those plays. So. So here, while I'm setting my activation sequence, I'm debating what to do. Usually Gal has sparklings on him, so I want to activate him first so the sparklings can go and tie stuff up, but I forgot that these sparklings are not attached to Gal. They're in the main list. So I want to put them first so that they can dive bomb. I'm thinking the one that's flying kind of right in front of my archaeologist there, kind of middle of the screen, he can come up and tie up those Akhamiäl, and that will completely block the Quasar from coming to that side of the board. He'll have to go all the way around. This other sparkling, dive attacking, they get 25 centimeters of movement. I'm hoping he's in range to tie up that other pulsar. It's going to be close, but that's my thought there, essentially, is that use these sparklings, tie up a bunch of models, and kind of recover. Again, game plan is still pump out a bunch of sparklings, just control the board, get my, guard. I'm okay with him tabling my army, right? As long as I can get my archaeologist to the other center, I can control his archaeologist, and then I also get the treasure, right? So if I can do that by just feeding him sparklings all game and other models that he continues killing while I complete my objectives, I'm completely fine with it. And that's kind of the mindset I've had even from round one, right? Is like I'm not trying to kill his models necessarily. I just want to control the game. So a big part of this is keeping Gal alive to continue casting the sparklings. As soon as Gal is dead, obviously the sparklings go away, any that he cast. So that's important, and it's hard to do when he has a dragon that he can cast. So Krill actually wins tactical, and I say actually because I'm using my concentration to pump my discipline. So I think Gal's discipline 6 with leadership, and I'm spending all 3 of my concentration points into discipline. He can't do that because he's not in Blade of Truth. That is enabled to me by the solo ability called Determination, which is on Gal and the Azure Hunters, that they can put their concentration points in any abilities or any stats. So I've been rolling at +3 essentially, and I know that if he ever wins it, that dragon's coming out, because then he'll get a pick fray, which fray to activate first, and it can just, that dragon can do what dragons do and implacable and take off a bunch of boards. So right away, turn 2, he gets it. So things aren't looking great. He's going to come up here. He's going to cast Draconic Pact with 3 dice. He needs a 4, and as you see, he gets 1 through 3. So that's the one downside to this spell, is that if you don't get it and you're paying 40 points for it in Legacy and it doesn't go off, then yeah, it's just sad times. You're essentially playing down 40 points. So that's probably the main reason why I don't play it in Legacy. I think that the spell is amazing. If you cast it and if it goes off, you're almost guaranteed to get your points back, right? Because the dragon's at least going to charge something that's more than 40 points, something probably super critical to your army or to the opponent's army. So it's definitely going to kill its points back. But in those, even with 3 dice and you need a 4 and you don't get it, it happens, and it feels real bad those games. So he was just seeing, he was just saying if it did go off, he was making sure that he could tie up Gal and the Warrior of Truth, because that was his kind of go-to plan, and he was just kind of talking through, if it would have gone off, this is what I would have done. Because he's again kind of just this is a second game with this list. He's just trying to learn it and all the different kind of components of it and visualize what could have happened. So yeah, he needs to, that obviously sucks a lot. It never feels good when your big thing doesn't work. But yeah, we continue trucking on at this point. I think he takes a minute, figures out what he's going to do next. I think at this point, again, he realized again he forgot to cast Chains of Automation on all the different constructs, so he's doing that now. Cast it 4 times. I think it's on everything. That just gives him the ability later in the game to put on various buffs with his gems. I think he's also devoting the construct, or maybe he already did that again. That's that same Akhamiäl that has a serious wound on it. He devotion 2 off of it, and again rolled legs, and so it's still alive now on a crit wound. Gotta love that when you're just always rolling legs on hurting your own models. Yeah, and I'm not sure. I thought he would have gone, I don't know, if he might have been a little bit off. He kind of just moves the pulsar for positioning here, kind of putting it nowhere. This allows me to just get a sparkling on it. And oh, he force marched it. That's what he did. He force marched it over there to get it closer. I think he was going to go and deal with that hunter and the other warrior of truth on that side. But my activation first was the sparkling, so now it's definitely in range to tie up that that pulsar, and then like I said, I charged this Akhamiäl, completely blocking off, and now the Quasar is definitely not going to have enough movement to kind of loop all the way around Gal, around that wall, and get in to help the archaeologists and these models over here. So really just with that one sparkling, just kind of splitting his whole army into half. I kind of lose track of which warriors of truth was which here. So this warrior of truth is actually, I thought he was going to try to charge his archaeologist and pin him there. End up short. The other one he killed because there's 2 on warriors of truth A and then 3 on warriors of truth B. He goes, I believe that was the pulsar. It already got charged. So now the hunters are activating. And even without a dragon, Gal still has a lot of spells that he can cast, help out his army, so I need to begin dealing with Gal. I think if I can eliminate Gal, then I absolutely can control the rest of the list pretty easily. So even though there's 2 giant scary robots there, Gal's the only thing I feel like can really disrupt me. So dealing with that kind of seals the game up for me. So they walk up, they're going to shoot here, both within medium range. Again, they both have determination, so they put their 2 concentration points into their aim stat, so they're aim 6. They both moved, and their shot is obstructed. So they need, I believe, 3s to hit. They both are going to roll that. First damage roll on him is 4/5. So I believe that puts him on a serious. Other one rolls legs with the 6, but it's enough to walk him up to a crit. So I think we talked about this after the game. I think that the Akhamiäls there, he deployed both on that flank there, which was a good because it definitely negated my archaeologists going that way. But we kind of talked about how they were also in a position where I could just kind of ignore them, and due to the Akhamiäl speed, they do have 2.5 additional movements of speed, so they can move 25 thanks to Elder's Legacy. But I could just always kind of keep ahead of them and run away until I essentially dictated when I wanted to deal with them. I could kind of ignore them. They don't have super long range on the guns, so I could just kind of ignore them until it was opportunistic for me to deal with them. If he would have deployed that, like maybe one on the flank just to deny my archaeologist going up there, and then I think the other one in the middle, he just wants to be super annoying with those, right? That like I don't want to have to spend activations or models dealing with those things, right? So we talked about trying to put them in a better spot where they're just going to be relevant and going to be annoying and can tie up models or a split phrase, or if I really choose not to deal with them, then at least they're getting quality shots, not chasing after things. So he putting one in the middle of the board there, kind of in the ruins, might have been better, or even both. So that's just something to note, is always have a plan for your scouts, right? I think scouts is one of those things where as you get higher up in the game, that's one of the things that is just hard to master, right? Is how to use scouts. A lot of people just put them in front of their army. You put them too far up, then your opponent can just deal with them without having to sacrifice them, right? They can just kill them without the rest of your army being able to take advantage of what they were doing. So placing scouts during deployment and how to utilize them is something that's very finessey and takes a lot of skill to master. So Gal comes up here. I'm hoping I can get this elemental chains out. I'm going to boost it to lock up this pulsar. If I got this, I'm pretty good. It's exactly 20 centimeters, which is amazing because that's the range of it. So yeah, I got it, and I just needed to not fail. Thankfully, I got double twos. And then the last thing I'm going to try to do here is just put out a sparkling to use to tie up. I failed it, so I'm going to Arcane Mastery, another sparkling, and this one I need like a 4, and I got the 4. So the one I can't fail, of course I failed. And then the one I Arcane Mastery out, needing higher difficulty, I got, and that is just how it always goes for me. I don't know how I always fail on needing just not ones on my normal sparklings and getting out the Arcane Mastery one, but it's how it goes. Yep, so his last activation here, Quasar, just kind of running up. He was hoping that he could get it around enough to get on, get in here and implacable into Gal or something, but he is short. My last activation, I believe, is just Archaeologist running up, getting ready to score. So the first, he won tactical. He picks the first fray. He's picking the sparkling. I get +2 attack, initiative, and strength. And I'm dealing with an Akhamiäl that's on a crit and one that's full health. I roll a 6, so I win initiative. I'm going to place all my dice in attack because I don't care about sparklings. They're just there to do damage and tie people up. So I think on his one that was damaged, he did actually go dice in defense. This is the full health one. He went all attack. I roll 6/5, and I think I just remove it from the board there. And then the other Akhamiäl goes, he swings back, doesn't do any damage to me, and then I do enough to, I mean, that was a ridiculous roll, but he was on a crit anyways, so he walks it up to kill him as well. So MVP Sparkling here, just, taking out Akhamiäls. Next activation, these 2 Khidarÿm, elite warriors again on 2 Akhamiäl. If a Sparkling can do it, hopefully my 2 elite guys can wipe these guys out with the pursuit wounds as well. So. And it is at about this time that Krill's Bluetooth headphones die from battery. So I think the game's going to kind of slow down a little bit as we use the chat feature within TTS to kind of resolve these last couple of frays here for this turn. With our plan was to, with TTS, save the game state here after turn 2, and be able to pick it up and resume it. I kind of playing spoiler here. I do clean up these Akhamiäls here, both of them. I don't think he ends up doing any damage to my Khidarÿm. And then to add insult to injury, the Pulsar on, who is Elemental Chain, so he wouldn't get a pursuit movement, but he's towing off 1v1 with that Sparkling over there on the steps. He doesn't even end up killing the Sparkling, unfortunately. Just, again, rolling legs, super low damage rolls. I put 5 into the chest to break it, so it has 1 structure point left. And we kind of talk about, what scheduling when we can pick up and finish this game. And Krill has kind of lost all motivation, just, losing that dragon, playing down 40 points. Gal's on a crit. Really only left with the Pulsar and the Quasar. We kind of talk about what we would do, and I think he kind of realizes with my Gallus being full health, being able to cast Elemental Change and just feed Sparklings, the game is pretty much wrapped up here. Yeah, I think my list, just kind of stepping back and evaluating that, I like my list a lot. I'm still playing around with the Khidarÿm here. This is the first game I've ever played with them. I don't know if I saw enough from them to really solidify whether I like them or not. Blade of Truth, you're able to take 33% in either Griffin or Lions. So I've been playing around with different elite options to kind of fill their slot, whether it's Royal Guardsmen from Lions, the ones that have hard boiled are like res 10, sacred armor and sacred weapons. So any doubles they ignore, and any doubles they deal, it just automatically kill. And I think they have probably some other ridiculous buffs on them. They're 40 points each, so they could fill that spot. The other options are Praetorians out of Griffins that I've been kind of messing around with. They have a little bit lesser resilience, but they output a little bit more. Other things I've been thinking about is adding Miguel. I think I had a game with on the channel with him. He's able to cast Force of Virtue on models, which, most Cynwäll have really high courage, so that's a really high strength buff. Just access to Chimerical Glaive and Force March, Aquatic Shackles if need be. That's not on Gal, so the Blade of Truth faction is actually completely wide open, because you essentially can build 33% Cynwäll, 33% Lions, and 33% Griffin. So a lot of different builds out there, a lot of things I'm experimenting with. Any feedback for Krill? I do like his list. I think that, he just needs to get more reps in with it, just making some, maybe he writes on his hand, Chains of Automation, so he remembers that every round just to cast that. We talked about getting better with his Akhamiäl and just, having a game plan. Not much you can do when you just failed, dice are dice and fail Draconic Pact and you play down 40 points, so that was unfortunate, but I think there's a lot to like about Elder's Legacy and the construct list. I think that probably Draconic Pact 40 AP and the Nexus is too much to put all in one list, but I know I've played Elder's Legacy with the Nexus, and I really like that. I think you can just grind pretty much anyone out of the game as long as you can stay relevant. Yeah, and then just last thoughts on this. This scenario, it's kind of like taking multiple scenarios or 2 different scenarios from the GDR, whether it's chicken and I think there's an escort one as well, kind of very similar, just combining those. I like it as it really pulls you apart and feels like you have a lot to do. So yeah, I think I'm a fan of this one. I do typically don't like games that or scenarios rather that are just determined by the end state of game. So like, it doesn't matter early on. You couldn't really win early on and get up. But yeah, overall, I think it's a decent scenario and had a lot of fun. So thank you for watching. And until next time, I'll see you on the streets.